Hello YouTube, still 125 here again. My computer's a little bit off, but oh well. I actually got an angle because usually I'm just slouched down looking at it. But anyways, decided to make this video here to just tell you what you can basically do, like if an officer stopped you, for example, and later on I'll get into a little bit more of the the stuff about like training if you want to go through the police academy or whatever. So, anyways, the first thing is I actually had a viewer message me, actually a couple messaged me and ask, hey, are you for or against police using force? Well, that depends on circumstance. For example, there's someone posted a video, I think it was off of YouTube, it might have been from Instagram, but someone posted a video on my Facebook page, well, it was actually my news feed, and this guy was like, his friend was on the ground, the cop was telling him to get on the ground because he didn't know who he was, and the guy was filming, and I mean, if you're in that cop's shoes, it basically looks suspicious because the guy's sitting there filming, trying to tell a friend, like, hey, get up, man, you ain't done nothing wrong, blah, blah, blah. Well, actually, he has done something wrong, otherwise the officer wouldn't be telling him to lay down on the ground. So his friend is now interfering with the police investigation and acting suspicious, so the officer has his firearm drawn on the guy, and the guy's, like, yelling at him, telling him, why do you have a gun on me? I haven't done anything wrong, blah, blah, blah. I was in the U.S. Army. Well, if you were trained in the military, then they do have more fear of you than any other person if you snap. Because, I mean, you've been trained to use force. Just like if you said that you were another officer from another state, you've still been trained to use force. So therefore, they have reasonable suspicion that if you snap, you're going to use that force against them. So there's the reason for the firearm being drawn on you. And then the guy was refusing his orders to get on the ground, which is refusing refusing an officer's lawful order or something like that, from what I remember. But got all his law books over here. I'm still reading up on them. But got about 9 different books over here. But yeah, basically you can just go to the library, get law books, read up on them and stuff. Understand the laws better is one way to better yourself. For any confrontations with the police and whatnot. But the number one thing that you should do when confronted by the police is to obey their orders, especially if you're, like, say, in public, not on your own property or whatever. I mean, still, you don't have a reason not to obey their orders. But, for example, if they're, like, say, for example, a sheriff's department will just say, because I'm just going to use that for an example, because I'm not going to say all sheriffs are bad, but some of them are bad, as we know. I mean, hell, there's some videos of New Jersey Police Department cussing people out and whatnot for no reason on YouTube. I won't go into details on that stuff, but for example, sheriffs, for example, like I'm trying to think here, like say for example, deputies like, oh, why don't you come on out, give us your phone. Well, why in the hell should I give you my phone? You know, and also another thing is most states actually allow you the right to record your confrontation with the officer as long as you're not doing anything wrong, like trying to record them to get them in trouble, for example, which is what they're actually afraid of. Come to think of it, I mean, if you're a cop, do you want to have someone filming you trying to get you in trouble so that you can lose your job? I mean, that's basically any job, come to think of it. And then, and on top of that, most of these people that actually film the cops, for themselves, they don't have a job. They don't have anything better to do with their time, what I've seen. But that's just what I've seen. I mean, there could be, people out there, jobs that film them or whatever. I don't know. But like I said, just obey the officer, do what they say. At the end of the confrontation, it should be like a handshake and, thank you for complying, and then you'll be on your way. Meanwhile, you could just be an ass like some of these people are, like, no, I'm not going to do that, I don't have to show you my ID, I don't have to do this, I understand that some states don't have a failure to ID law, but ours does. I know for a fact Alaska does. Because I've actually seen people from, like, California and stuff like, oh, I'm going to show you my ID, and the cop's like, well, you either show it to me or you're going to jail for 48 hours or more until we can find out who you are. And no, that's not, bullshit. I think that the officer should have a right to know who the hell you are if you're acting suspicious. Or something like that. Because, I mean, for all they know, you could be suspicious and plotting to murder someone. Or plotting to go up and run up and rob someone. They don't know. I mean, put yourself in the shoes of the officer. You know, that's what the are basically. That's pretty much what everyone I've seen this recording is not doing. They're not thinking like, well, what's the officer going to think if I do this? They don't think ahead. What they do instead is they're just thinking to themselves like, oh man, I'm going to put this on World Star Hip Hop or Instagram or YouTube and get 1,000,000 views overnight because this cop's corrupt. Well, how do you know the officer's corrupt unless you follow his damn commands? You know? I mean, there are instances where, for example, like say a certain sheriff's office, I'm not going to say who, but I've heard of them taking people's cell phones, smacking them out of their hands, taking their cell phones and deleting this footage off of them, you know, just so they don't have any recording of the incident, you know, cussing people out after that, and even resetting their phones, come to think of it, or throwing it in the bush. Not going to say who, not going to say where, not going to say when, not going to say how, of course. And I know that the stalker's kind of watching this, but I really don't care. And by the way, why the hell are you still stalking me? Anyways, but to further prove my point, though, you know, if you get confronted by an officer, it doesn't matter what race you are, what ethnicity, you know, how tall you are, how short you are, none of that. All that matters is you comply with the officer, you weren't doing anything wrong, you don't have any warrants for your arrest, you don't have any drugs on you, you don't have, you know, what they call illegal firearms. I mean, for me, it's like nothing should be illegal because we have the Constitution, which states that, you know, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So basically, every gun law is infringement. I mean, what is a law? It's a restriction or ban, which leads to the word infringement. Am I right or am I wrong? But that's just my stance on it. But like I said, we've got all these gun laws and crap. But as long as you don't have like an illegal weapon on you, as they call it, in your state or whatever, you know, you don't have drugs, you're not running from no one, you're not doing anything suspicious, you're not, you know, trying to rob, rape, murder, whatever the hell you want to say, and you don't have any warrants for you, I mean, you know, it might be as simple as like the cop could just want his ticket quota and might just give you a ticket and have you go on your way. But I mean, you know, what's like say $75 out of your pocket for littering, or $100 out of your pocket for littering if you pick it back up and throw it away if the officer asks you to, you know, and you admit your fault and all that, and then you just pay the ticket. I mean, you know, $100 compared to say a month in jail for resisting arrest. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I've had a couple tickets in the past, but I paid them. So it's actually something that they ask you in the police department personal history statement thing up here. But so yeah, basically just comply with the officers, you know, lawful orders and stuff. However, if they're a sheriff, you know, and you're in your own house and they're telling you to come outside, you don't have any duty to do that, unless, you know, they have a warrant or something like that. You know, they're not legally allowed to tell you to come out of your house unless they have a warrant for your arrest or something like that, which they don't usually have that unless they have reason to believe you're doing something. But other than that, you know, there's not really much you can do to get in trouble with the police if you're being straight and honest and whatnot. For example, I mean, you know, I'd say like I go jogging around the neighborhood, you know, with my weight vest on, which by the way I ordered. But, you know, there's like a 40-pound weight vest, looks like a tactical vest, like, you know, Kevlar or whatever, because that's just how weight vests typically look. And the one I ordered just happens to be camouflaged. I wanted to get a black one, but they didn't have a black one that was 40 pounds that was reasonable for the price, because, I mean, all they are like little sandbags inside the vest for weight. But, say I'm like jogging around the neighborhood with that. Okay, an officer stops me, you know, and usually I'm carrying my firearm. So, you know, they're like, hey, you look suspicious or something, you know, like, okay, well, I'm not doing anything wrong, officer. Well, can you stop and talk to us for a minute? Okay, sure, officer. I'll stop for a couple minutes, talk to you. I would like to notify you, however, that I am armed, you know. I'll keep my hands where you can see them and whatnot. And usually they're like, okay, well, step over here. I'm going to take your weapon for a few minutes. You know, they'll run it, make sure it's not stolen or anything like that. And then, you know, they'll talk to you and whatnot. Why are you jogging out here? Well, to be honest, I'm trying to join your academy. Oh, really? Okay, that's cool. Well, you know, I mean, jogging with a weapon out here, I mean, it's not the brightest thing. Well, officer, I live in, you know, for example, my neighborhood. I'm not going to say which one because the stalker will get that information. Anyways, I'm, you know, not in the best neighborhood. However, it's not the worst neighborhood either. But, they'll be like, oh, okay, understandable. And I have the right to carry a firearm up here, open or concealed, officer. And on top of that, I have a concealed carry permit. If you would like to see that, is in my wallet. And now that you have my firearm, I can retrieve that if you want. And then, usually they'll be like, okay, let me check that out. And then they run you and whatnot. And okay, well, thank you. Now that I know that you're certified to carry a firearm, even though you don't need to be in this state, and blah, blah, blah. And okay, well, I'm going to give you your firearm back. Here's your firearm. Here's the magazine. Usually keep the round up here, actually, if it's in the chamber. But they'll be like, here's your magazine, and I'll leave the ammo right here, for you. And please don't load it until I leave. And then it's like, okay. So then they say, have a nice day, drive off. You retrieve your firearm, load it back, put it back in your holster, and keep jogging. Simple as that. But that's just how most of the stops go that I've seen. Unless, like I said, someone's carrying drugs or something, then they get charged with drugs and possession of a firearm while having drugs on them. Which, funny enough, even after marijuana becomes illegal in Alaska, it's still illegal on a federal level. But even after it becomes legal, I mean, you can't drive around town getting high in your car because that's DUI, driving under the influence. Another thing is you cannot have, firearms or any sort of weapon, actually, come think of it, like, knife or firearms on you. Knife they might let you go with, but firearm, definitely not. They'll take your firearm, take your drugs, and cuff you and take you to jail. But, and no, it's not personal experience. That's just what I've seen happen. Of course, it's not legal yet, but still, they're still going to do that because you cannot have firearms and drugs. They don't mix. Same thing with alcohol. If you've been drinking, they're going to take your firearm, take any alcohol that you have on you, or if you don't, they're still going to arrest you and do breathalyzer and all that, and you'll still go to jail. You won't get your firearm back. Basically, just don't be an idiot with your firearms. But, I don't drink anymore. I haven't drank for, about 2.5 years. I'd say at least 2 years. I haven't drank since Obama was reelected, let's put it that way. I'll be honest. When he was reelected, the first thing I did, first 15 minutes of seeing it on the news, got in the van that we had, drove up to the Brown Jug liquor store and got me a bottle of vodka. Came back home, tossed the keys in the drawer where I'd keep them, started drinking. Because I couldn't believe America was that retarded. But anyways, of course, and again, we had Mitt Romney otherwise. So, but anyways, yeah, just don't be an idiot with your firearms, and when you get confronted by the police, be like, okay, I'll keep my hands where you can see them. I want to notify you right now that I have my firearm on me, and if you have, if you are required to have a permit to carry that firearm in your state, notify the officer of that too. Right then and there, when you notify them that you have a firearm on you, first thing you do is notify them that you have a firearm, and then tell them, I do have a permit to carry in this state, and it is valid, and, you may retrieve my firearm if you want, or whatever. I mean, you don't have to offer that, but that's basically what they're going to do anyways. But as long as you comply with them, it shouldn't be no problem. I know I'm going on with this a little much, but pretty much just comply with officers is what I'm going to say. Because most of them aren't actually assholes. At least not in my experience. Anyways, on to the workout stuff, since I've got about a minute left. Bought a stopwatch off of Amazon. It's Oslo, O-S-L-O, by Robic, R-O-B-I-C. It's the Silver 2.0 twin chronograph and countdown timer. Comes with a battery already in it. So, as you can see, it beeps when you start and stop it. So it comes with a battery already in it. It's supposed to be good for like a year or two. But that's the countdown timer that I ordered so that I can do the 300-meter sprint, 65.2 seconds. I'm going to time myself for about 60 seconds, actually, is what I'm going to try and make it for my deadline of sprinting 300 meters. I know I can do better than that, but maybe by a couple seconds. I mean, I'm pretty short. I'm only like 5'8" and 130 pounds, so short, light. Kind of skinny, but I'm actually athletically skinny is the funny thing. But I'm going to get back into working out. This is actually one of the blocks. This is like the type they use at our Anchorage Police Department for the training. This one happens to be blue. Theirs are usually gray or multicolored. But this is a 9-inch tall by a 6-inch wide by 3-inch thick block. And they usually lay it down vertically like that. And your sternum has to touch the block each time you do a push-up with your hands about like right on the sides of your head, sort of like that. Well, here, I'll get the angle down. But yeah, basically you gotta do that and just push up and down off the block. And your sternum has to touch it each time. Can't lift a hand or a foot when you're doing that. Otherwise you fail. But no time limit on those. The other requirements are how it goes. I mean, there's a video here on YouTube somewhere of it. But how it goes is a 15.5-inch vertical leap, which is you just reach your hand all the way up like that as far as you can, and they measure off the tip of your finger, your middle finger, 15.5 inches off that. So if you can jump up and touch the, they got like these little straws sticking out, but if you can jump up and touch the bottom of the straw, you've completed that. Go over that, they just say you're overachieving, but rather overachieve than underachieve, right? But anyways, the DVDs said to tape together. I can actually untape these now and put them back in the collection wherever, since I got the block. But as I said, it's about, the DVDs are actually a little bit shorter than the block. But the good thing about that is if you can do 15 off of the DVDs, you can damn sure do 15 off the block when they have you do that. But anyways, 15.5-inch vertical leap, and then you gotta do 34 sit-ups in under a minute, which I just basically, my desk is about that far off the ground for the bottom of it. Like, it's got a little space under it, so I just put my feet under that and do them that way. But when you do the push-ups, you gotta interlace your fingers behind your head and do them like that. Elbows have to touch your knees. So 34 of those in under a minute, and then 15 push-ups, no time limit. 300-meter dash in 65.2 seconds or less. And then you have to do a 1.5-mile run, which is 6 laps around this Olympic-sized track on the inside of their so-called dome, which is actually in that training video, you'll see it. But 6 laps around that in 15 minutes, 17 seconds. So that's the requirements that are currently for APD. And then once you get in the academy, I believe we have you do the dummy drag and all that stuff, but that should be easy after you do that stuff. But anyways, I got weight vest on the way, ankle weights, wrist weights, and a hydration pack, so that when I go running from here about 8 miles from my grandparents' house, I can just use a hydration pack for that, and I can run back using the same hydration pack. And then pretty much just train all summer and all through the fall and everything, and spring and all that. And yeah. Anyways, the yoga blocks, the funny thing about these is I didn't order them on Amazon. I'm actually kind of glad I didn't now, because they went up from like $6.11 for a pair of 2 to $10.59 for a pair of 2, and that's without the shipping, so the shipping would have been extra. But I found these at Walmart for like $9.11 for a 2-pack. So I gave one to a friend that wants to join APD with me. It's actually downstairs right now. But yeah, I gave one of them to him, and I've got the other one, because they only give you one block to do the push-ups off of. So anyways, that's a little update on that stuff. Like I said, though, just comply with the officer, and that's all that you really have to do to avoid confrontation with them. And it's going on about 20 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this vlog off. Actually, I'll just name it something like Officer Confrontation, what you should do. I'll just name it that. Anyways, if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, leave them in the video below. I can get back to you. Like, for example, if you want to know, like, if you got a question about, hey, what should I do if this happens, I mean, if you don't have, like, a common sense question and you need clarification or whatever, leave it down below. I'll search for it if you want. I'll read up on it if I need to, and then I'll get back to you with an answer. But like I said, though, state laws vary, from state to state to state. So that's kind of hard to do, but like I said, I can get back to you with the best answer I can come up with. And yeah, so 20 minutes now, and I'll see you guys next video. Questions, comments, anything like that, leave it below. Delta 0125, signing out.